Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing volume 43 in the series Haikyuu by Haruichi Furudate. This is a manga series I have been reading and really enjoying. If you need a refresher, volumes 1 through 42 reviews are on my channel. We're going to be diving in volume 43 and discussing my thoughts on it, my opinions on it, and kind of my thoughts on this series overall as we start to get to the close of this manga series. So I've been reading this series for a while. I've been very invested in this series for a long time and I have been really enjoying it. And I think that now we're getting to the end of this series, I have some more overarching broad thoughts as well as discussing what's happening in this particular volume. The first thing that readers are going to notice when they see the cover, and apologies, there are like library stickers on here, is things look different. In previous volumes, we saw players that we're familiar with. In this case, we see Kageyama here in the black and I think it's like orange jerseys of Karasuno High School. But the author made a change in volume 42 when Karasuno High School was knocked out of the spring tournament in Tokyo versus the high school Kamomadai. He decided to not continue on the high school path with these players, but instead shift to their careers in volleyball or not in volleyball after high school. So the author did a time jump which consumed the second half of volume 2. Primarily, we followed Hinata, who decided to continue his career by going to Brazil and playing beach volleyball. Beach volleyball is a totally different game. It is fundamentally still volleyball, but there's only 2 players, so players touch the ball quite a bit more, and there's not as much backup on the court per se. You also have factors like sand, which is a little different to play in, and wind factor. So Hinata is really starting to get a feel for the game. I'm not sure what the path is for pro players in real life, if people from indoor migrate to outdoor, or what happens. I don't watch as much beach volleyball. I really watch volleyball primarily at the Olympics, the pro level volleyball, where I tend to watch women's indoor court and men's beach volleyball. So those are just the 2 ones that I gravitate towards. I'm sure men indoor court volleyball is wonderful and women's beach volleyball is also wonderful, but they do seem like 2 slightly different games. And I'm not sure if people who play indoors primarily migrate to beach or people who play beach primarily migrate indoors. But if I had to guess, it's indoor to beach. So it's kind of a little bit of a career difference. And this is mentioned in volume 42 or 43, somewhere in here, that Hinata's kind of going to be taking a unique path if he goes outdoor to beach, but then wants to again go back into indoor court volleyball eventually when he goes back to Japan. Now, Hinata's rival slash partner, Kageyama from high school, went directly into the pro volleyball leagues in Japan. He did not do any sort of career deviations. He was, of course, a top setter in high school and he was a top pick, so it makes sense that he would have been recruited right out of high school to a pro league in Japan. Hinata he's fighting some disadvantages, primarily around his height, but he's trying his best and he's going to go to Brazil in hopes that his time in Brazil will make him a better indoor player after playing beach volleyball and therefore help him get recruited onto a pro volleyball or a pro Japanese volleyball team. This is exactly what happens in volume 43. So Hinata is playing in Brazil, he's having a good time, he's meeting people, and he really enjoys the sport, although he does find beach volleyball difficult to play. He goes back to Japan and he winds up making it on a pro Japanese volleyball team, the Black Jackals. So this is a very exciting twist in the series. We're now into the pro series. We're now into the pro groups where the players that we recognize are playing on pro teams. And the focus of this book, volume 43, is setting up what I believe to be kind of the final volleyball game of this series. And it has it's a rematch and a throwback to one of the first volleyball games that we see in the series. Kageyama, as I mentioned, has moved on to a pro team as well. He is playing on the Schweiden Adlers, which is a Japanese team, but it sounds German because I guess their sponsor's German. Kageyama is playing on their team and Hinata, of course, on the Black Jackals, and they have their first matchup of the season, so Schweiden Adlers is going to be playing against the Black Jackals. This is a big matchup because it's a continuation or a rematch of what happened in middle school when Hinata was really trying to get into volleyball and he played against the team that Kageyama played on and got completely trounced. But this is a rematch. We have 2 pros going in against each other and pros that spent 3 years playing together in high school. So we do have that dynamic where now they know each other and they're not just random people, and it's going to be really interesting to watch. We also are getting this conclusion aspect in that a lot of people who played with these teams, played against, when I say teams, I mean Hinata and Kageyama's Karasuno High School in high school, so competitors from the spring tournament that we spent like 15 volumes in, people who were teammates of Kageyama and Hinata, all are coming to the game to watch this matchup between these two teams. And we get to see them talking, and we're also getting to see what they did, whether they didn't play volleyball at all, whether they just left that in high school, whether they just joined a municipal team. Maybe they're also playing in the pro leagues. Maybe they're playing in a lower division of the pro leagues. We're just seeing what all of them continue to do. And we're starting to get this wrap up element. We get this final matchup, and the game starts, and it is ongoing in this series, and you can tell the skill level is quite high. But besides the matchup and the rematch of this first game that we had, we also see the character building all coming together. We see all these characters we've interacted with coming together. I feel like the author did 40+ volumes of building characters, not just among the team that Hinata and Kageyama played with in high school, but also on other teams that they played against, teams they went to training camps with, teams they went to practice games with. And all this character building is kind of paying off in these final volumes. We're getting all of them together one last time. They're watching two of their former teammates, and possibly, if they're playing in the top volleyball league, two of their also rivals playing against one another. And it's just a really sweet, interesting game to watch. I think it's a volleyball game. It's interesting, it's fun, but we're also starting to get the wind down aspect. I think the author is, of course, there's only 45 volumes, so we are wrapping it up, but the author is starting to wrap up all these elements and all this character building and all this work that he's put in for 40 volumes in this volume, and we're starting to see the culmination of this entire series come together, and I absolutely loved it. I love this series. I'm excited to see the conclusion of this game, but I also kind of feel like the conclusion of this game doesn't really matter. I feel like both Hinata and Kageyama have kind of proved themselves at this point, and we have the conclusion and the character building and all these characters that we've seen for 40+ volumes together in one spot, and it's a really sweet, fun volume to read. And I think if you've been reading and loving this series, you are going to love volume 43 as well. If you've read volume 43, please leave your thoughts on this in the comments below. Otherwise, I encourage you to check out my manga playlist, where I have many, many, many reviews on a wide variety of manga series. And thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day.